everyone, I'm Siobhan. I'm a social innovator and this is my story. So at high school, I would say art and design subjects were my absolute fave. I think I lived in the art rooms in year 11 and 12. I was always a pretty creative kid. I loved drawing, I loved making things. And so it was kind of, pretty natural for me to start looking for creative jobs. When I came across industrial design, I'd never heard of it before. But it was something my dad suggested to me because he noticed that I really like to make things. And I got really excited when I went along to a sort of open day at a university to look up what it was, because I'd been really comfortable and confident in sort of the graphic design projects and in BizCom. But for me, industrial design opened up my eyes to a whole nother world of making things. And I guess when choosing what I wanted to study and where I might end up, I really didn't have in mind what I wanted to be, but I knew that I wanted to be able to make ideas real and put them in the real world. But I wasn't really set on the type of way I would do that. So I kind of wanted to learn how to do that in a graphic design way. I kind of wanted to learn how to do that in 3D and in objects and things. And I kind of wanted to think about that also with people. So for me, I think I chose and I gravitated towards industrial design really just because I wanted to explore lots of different things and I wanted to learn how I might get my ideas into the real world and explore that in lots of different ways. So that's probably the main reason why I went the industrial design route. But I also really enjoyed art and photography and was inspired a lot by some volunteering experiences I had. So one really influential experience that I had was just as I graduated high school, I got the opportunity to go overseas and do some volunteering. And for me, that really shaped the sort of field that I would go into. And that's why I became really interested in learning about different cultures and working on big social problems. I think when I did volunteering overseas, I realised that I was about to go and be educated in Australia, and that was actually a really big gift and a really big privilege. And a lot of the kids that I met who were sort of my age as well weren't going to have that opportunity. So I think for me, going out and seeing the world and doing some volunteering overseas really helped widen my view of the world, really helped me look for, when I got to university, the types of projects that I wanted to work on, which were social issues. And that's how I got into social innovation in the end. So starting university, I studied at RMIT in Melbourne. The industrial design degree was really broad and I got to explore lots of things. It meant lots of time in the workshop, making things. It meant really developing my sketching with We learnt CAD, which means computer-aided design. So I learned how to model things on a computer, which helps with the manufacturing process. And I also got to learn a lot about theory and practice. So some of the subjects that I was really the most interested in were things like working on a maternal mortality project, which was around the Sustainable Development Goals. So for me, I sort of gravitated towards electives and things that had big social issues at their heart. So I studied for about 4 years and my final year project wasn't actually a product at all, which was quite unique at the time for an industrial design degree. I ended up designing and running workshops for school kids, and they were all about creating curiosity. And I think something that I learnt through my degree was that for me, the creative process itself was the thing that I found really valuable. Sometimes it's the thing that you make at the end, which is what everyone wants, that product and the thing. But for me, I found that going through a creative process helped me explore lots of different skills, gain lots of different mindsets. My most memorable university experiences was probably when I got to go on exchange overseas and study for a little bit of time in the Netherlands. If you do get the opportunity to do that, I would highly recommend it. I was lucky enough to apply for a scholarship, and yeah, I think it just really opened up my eyes to the world of design and the different industries. And I also got to meet people and other students from a lot of different sort of parts of the world. And I noticed that the different countries had different emphases. I graduated in 2012, and one big thing that was happening around that time that kind of influenced my thinking a lot was a book called This is Service Design Thinking. It sort of codified a lot of different practices that designers use when they create services or they're designing interactions with users. And so that book for me was a really great sort of source of inspiration, and it gave me a sense of the different types of sort of work I might be doing when I graduated as well. So graduating university, I just wanted to get out there and get some real world experience. For me, because I'd done a bit of volunteering in my 3rd and 4th year, I had lots I could put on my resume that allowed me to get in the door, and I think that was the difference when applying for jobs. So my first job out of university was at a lighting design manufacturer. I did a summer internship and then that rolled into some ongoing work with them. For me, that was a really interesting organisation to work for because I got to see how lights were manufactured from start to beginning. I got to see how lights were manufactured from beginning to end. I got to design a few lights alongside some experienced designers as well. And I also got to see a lot about their supply chains and how they imported products and parts into Australia. So I got a real sense of what the system of manufacturing was. And that was really interesting, but I still had a desire to work on projects with a social purpose and meaning. I was always on the lookout for opportunities that helped me work on things that, on big intractable problems and things like that. So one of the things I was doing at the time while I was working on my first job was I was also volunteering on the Emerging Designers Council of Australia and in the Melbourne Young Designers group, and that was a really interesting group of people like me, and through that I was able to network and find other opportunities. And one thing that sort of came my way at that moment was the opportunity to interview for a job at a leadership consultancy, which was really interesting. One of the reasons I went for that job was because there was no job description. I really recognised that, this could be a place that I could probably tailor the job to my creative skills. And it was also working on leadership across lots of different organisations and sectors. So I thought, how interesting. Maybe I might learn something about how organisations work, what the world of work looks like across different industries. So that was one of the reasons why I went for that job. So working in a leadership consultancy, what is that and what does that even look like? Basically, leadership or management consultancies help big organisations work on things like how they're working together, collaboration, and they also, when they want to bring a big change into an organisation or into an industry, they will often create like a culture change process. So those were the things that I was part of and being consulted in to do that. I guess one of my favourite projects that I got to work on while I was in that job was working on a Pacific Women's Sports Leadership Program. And my job as an experienced designer was bringing together all the elements of that project, helping to create a network of women across lots of different Pacific Island nations, and then designing the learning experience and workshops for that group as they were developing their confidence and capability in leading others in their different sports and different arenas. That was a real eye-opening experience and not somewhere I had have expected I would have been or predicted coming out of university. And I ended up staying there for 5 years, working as an experienced designer on leadership programs all around the world. I guess for me, if you had have asked me at university what kind of job I wanted, I would have said, there's this new place to work called taxi. And I'd love to find something like that. And so it's been really cool 10 or so years later to find myself working at TAXI, which is the Australian Centre for Social Innovation. And I really feel like I found the type of work I want to do, and I get up every day really excited to be there. Social innovation is a really interesting field, and it combines lots of different skill sets. So you're often working on big social issues like housing, like homelessness, lots of different things. And you're working with different groups of people to try and come up with different ways of working and innovations that might help make that better for people, for marginalised people in community. At the moment, I'm working on a project in South Australia called Our Town, and that includes working with 6 regional South Australian towns. And we've taken them through a process where they've talked to their community, listened, done a lot of discovery, research and conversations that have helped them come up with insights around their community. That's stemmed from, discovering different drug and alcohol challenges in their community to challenges of judgment to challenges of access and inequity. And so I guess at the moment what they're trying to do is to come up with different ideas and different ways that they might be able to shift the dial on that and improve wellbeing in their towns. I get to coach them every week and help them think through what their ideas could look like in real life, how they might really test them really on a small scale, and then how they might scale that over time and also capture evidence for what they're doing. And that can be used to inform government, to inform policy, and to inform how philanthropic funding gets done so that we can improve wellbeing and mental health in South Australia and Australia more broadly. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. A lot of the tasks that I do, it's a lot of coaching. Often as a coach looking to help people explore mindset, so the different mindsets you might hold, to prototype, to test, and that's something I probably didn't expect, but it's a big part of the work. I'm often making things that help communicate an idea. Sometimes that's desktop prototyping, sometimes that's materials and flyers, but just helping people explore what their idea looks like in real life so that they can take it to other people and test it with them. So for me, the power of design is in its ability to help you walk in the shoes of others and truly consider what they need and want in the world. I love putting myself in someone else's shoes and understanding their culture and their point of view, and design allows me to explore that every single day through conversation, through making things together, and through being curious and asking lots of really interesting questions about why something works like that and why does it have to be that way. There's lots of things about the world that I love, and there's also lots of things about the world that I want to change. And being in a job where I get to explore what we could change and how that change could be with others in the world is the most rewarding experience for me. So if you're like me and you love to help people and connect them in different ways, I would definitely recommend exploring whether design is the right field for you. There's lots of different opportunities and ways and different types of designers you could become, but all of them have an element of helping people. That's what I value the most, I guess, out of this work. So one piece of advice I would have for any students looking to get out into the design world and get a job in whatever design industry they have would be really to don't wait till you graduate to find opportunities to use your skill sets. Any opportunity you have to volunteer, to be involved in industry events, or even just applying your skill set to something that you're passionate about. I would say for me, I was able to get a job after I graduated because I had lots of things on my resume that I could point to as examples of things I'd done in the real world. It was really important to get out there and to give things a go. And so that would be my main piece of advice for any student wanting to sort of find work in the creative field. Volunteer. My name's Siobhan. Thanks for listening to my story, and subscribe to 1,000 1,000. Thanks for listening to my story and subscribe to 100 Designers Say for more stories.